Hey chummers, welcome to episode 4 of the Toronto Travel Guide, where I give players and game masters a look at locations you might encounter in the Shadowrun 6 World Campaign, 30 Nights. Now, 30 Nights is set in the UCAS city of Toronto, and in this video we're going to take a look at Uptown Toronto and the western portions of the city. This video should be spoiler free and is intended to give everyone an idea of the different locations mentioned in 30 Nights. Now, as I mentioned previously, just like there are buildings and places that we visit today that were built more than 60 years ago, these places most likely exist in the Sixth World as well. Maybe not exactly the same, but hopefully with the travel guide, you'll have a better idea of what the locations look like, what kind of things are in the area, and you'll be better able to incorporate those into your game and hopefully get a better role-playing experience out of it. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. As I said, we're dealing with the city of Toronto, which you can see here is located on the shore of Lake Ontario in the northwest corner of the lake, I should say, not too far from the border with the United States. Now, what I try to do is make sure that I reference everything in relation to the CN Tower, which is located near the shoreline. Just because it ended up being the first location mentioned in the book. And so I figure it's a good reference point when we're talking about the different portions of the city. So, with that being said, let's get started. So, first thing we're going to talk about is Uptown Toronto, located here, obviously north of downtown Toronto or Old Toronto. The book doesn't say a whole lot about it. It doesn't specify a lot of these different little neighborhoods around here. Basically, it says that this is pretty much middle class living. If you were a corporate drone, this is most likely where you would live when you were allowed off of work. And so basically you kind of see what you see today, houses, apartment blocks, things like that. But not a whole lot of corporate business kind of stuff up in this area. Now, the next area that we'd talk about is the west end of the city, but not quite over to Etobicoke. So we're talking about this portion here. This is in the western. This is the western edge of the city. Before they incorporated Etobicoke into the city, and the first place that the book mentions is High Park, which you can see here. So we've got High Park. The entertainment district with CN Tower is over here. So obviously head west, follow the freeway over, and you're going to run into High Park. Sort of like a central park of Toronto. Let's zoom in, see if we can get a little bit better look at it. You've got a nature center, playgrounds, dog runs, ponds, things like that. Where is it? Let's actually switch over to our satellite view because they also have a bunch of sports facilities. As you can see, they've got, well, if it ever comes into focus, sorry about that. They've got baseball fields, pools, obviously lots of trails and trees and forest. There is a small zoo. As I said, different playgrounds for children. And one of the features of the park is that it is very clean. There's a lot of upscale residences near the park. And according to Shadowrun, it is also sort of a home to some of the different paranormal critters that have returned in the Sixth World. There's the zoo does have regular animals plus paranormal animals. But let's take a look at some of the pictures. Now, I will warn you, this first picture that we're going to see, it's sort of just a park feature of the Canadian maple leaf. And most of the pictures seem to center around this. We don't get a ton of pictures around different portions of the park, but obviously you can see all the different trees, things like that. The way that the book describes it is that, yes, there are all the different paranormal critters, and so that can actually be used for different side adventures as far as, having to clean up the park, clean them out so that, the park is still, hospitable to guests. But basically it also mentions that they are trying to cultivate different types of creatures. The one that they mention mostly is harpies, and something about there being a group of, more or less tame harpies in the area. So, as you can see, lots and lots of pictures of the maple leaf. Clearly they dress it up for different times of the year, different flowers. So, obviously different monuments throughout the park, picnic tables. Hills. Obviously expecting snow soon. Yeah, unfortunately, that's pretty much what we're going to see is the maple leaf. So, let's see here. Let's zoom in on some of these different areas. What is the High Park Labyrinth? Interesting. Looks like it's more of a no walls, so more of a just ground level maze to try and find your way through. Obviously, different vegetation in the area, some people, some of the hiking trails. Clearly plenty of hills in the area. Let's see what else we can find. Got the High Park Children's Garden. More Canada gooses. Shout out if you get the reference, of course. More monuments. Vegetable garden. So, pretty normal. Let's see. But then, yeah, you've got the Grenadier Pond, where supposedly some soldiers died falling through the ice. But, yeah, as you can see, a very large park. Definitely serves a good portion of the area around here. Our next area is going to be north of the park. This area called the Junction. It's full of middle-class neighborhoods. It's named the Junction because of 4 different railroads that meet in the area. We've got our CN Tower down here, Junction over here, and obviously we're just north of High Park. Clearly we've got train yards. Let's zoom in and look at the satellite. So yeah, lots of normal, we'll call it. Um, in Shadowrun, it does say that it's got a bit of an eclectic nature with a bunch of different small shops and boutiques with specialty items that you would not actually find in larger retailers. Let's take a look at some of the pictures in the area. If it ever loads. Sorry. Definitely some middle class living, but nothing wrong with that at all. Plenty of apartments, multi-story buildings, independent houses, obviously, train tracks. But yeah, definitely looks like an older East Coast neighborhood to me. And plenty of Canadian snow. All right, and so that's the Junction. And the last area that it mentions is Bloor West Village, which is here just west of High Park. As it mentions here, it's a shopping district in Toronto. Located along Bloor Street, encompasses all businesses along Bloor Street between South Kingsway and Ellis Park Road. Consisting of more than 400 shops, restaurants, and services. So got a lot of that going on. Obviously, it moves around either side. And in the time of Shadowrun, another middle-class village. So plenty of corporate drones just working for the corpse. Cold noodles, not sure about that, but okay. Definitely an eclectic bunch over here. All right. Now, the last portion that we're going to talk about today is to the west of High Park in Etobicoke. So as you can see here, the K is silent. I actually reached out to a Canadian friend to figure out just how to say this name and was surprised by the fact that you don't say the K. As I said, it used to be its own city until late 20th century. It was actually absorbed into the city of Toronto. In Shadowrun, they've also absorbed the Toronto Pearson International Airport. And in Shadowrun, it is home to a large amount of manufacturing and industrial facilities. So probably a lot of Aries commercial products, things like that. Let's take a look at Etobicoke. I have a feeling it's going to look pretty normal. Interesting little monument. Not quite sure what that is. You can see the main city of Toronto across the shore. Rivers in the area. Nightlife. More Canadian snow. Apparently cars on blocks is not just a southern U.S. thing. And we've got Etobicoke over here on the left. We've got the main city of Toronto over here. We've got the islands, the small airport we talked about last time. Can't see it very well with this picture, but our CN tower is probably right here. A&W root beer. Anyways, so that is Etobicoke. Now, I've got one more video planned that's going to cover North York and Scarborough. At least I think that's how you say it. And that'll finish out the main portions of the travel guide. I've been reading through the adventure, so there are other locations that are mentioned. I will be pulling those up, but I will be putting those into videos that mention that there may be spoilers. So just keep those in mind if you're a player. Game Masters, obviously, I want you to take advantage of all of this if it helps you. But I thank you for watching. Hope you give it a like and a subscribe to the channel. I will be putting out more, and thank you for watching.